Today we're going to talk about ellipses. Now an ellipse and a circle are actually very similar. If you remember the equation of a circle, which was x minus h squared plus y minus k squared, and that was equal to r squared. Now if you divided everything by r squared, over here on the right hand side, instead of having r squared, you'd have r squared divided by r squared, which would be 1. So if you look at the format for an ellipse equation versus a circle equation, they're very similar. Now in the denominator of the circle, you would have r squared and r squared. They would be the same. Here in an ellipse, we have an a squared and a b squared, so those are different. That's what makes an ellipse different from a circle, is that those denominators, or the coefficients of x squared and y squared, are different. So now instead of having a nice circle, we're going to have an oval type shape. That's what an ellipse is. So let's talk about some of the major characteristics. The center is going to be at HK, just like it has been for parabolas and for circles. You're going to be taking the opposite of what you see in the parentheses. That's consistent. Now, something that's important is that a squared and b squared, if you look at the equation in this over here, where the major axis is parallel to the x-axis, where you have a horizontal ellipse, the a value is underneath the x, and then where the major axis is parallel to the y-axis, you have the a value underneath the y. So ellipses where the major axis is parallel to the x-axis are going to look long and skinny sideways, and then where they're parallel to the y-axis would be tall and skinny up and down. So the longer the major axis is parallel to either the x or y. Now something that you can take from this is that a is always going to be larger than b, and that a value is always with the major axis. So a is always with the major axis. Alright, so an ellipse is a set of all points P such that this should be sum, guys, sorry about that, of the distances between them and two fixed points is called the foci, and that is a constant. So we're going to add in a little blank here, and we're going to create an equation that says a squared minus b squared equals c squared. So our a value is going to go ahead and go along with our vertices. Our b squared will go with something called a covertice, and our c will go with the foci. So as we're writing these down, you can start identifying those variables. So the vertex is the distance, and the vertex always goes with a, from the center to a point on the major axis. So the major axis is going to be your larger axis, which corresponds with a always being larger. Covertex is going to be the distance, which we will refer to as b, and that's going to be from the center to a point on the minor axis. So minor axis, that's going to go ahead and be the smaller one. Now your focus is the distance, which we will refer to as the c value, from the center to a point also on the major axis.